Germany were to actually legalize cannabis to the extent that is currently planned, this would be the most far-reaching step in the EU today.
Flaw and Order? Germany continues to tease advocates with its ongoing promise of complete cannabis legalization. But despite the progress being made on paper, further delays in the German government are hampering affirmative action. We get the legal and regulatory lowdown from someone firmly in the know. Munich-based criminal lawyer, Olivia Evanicki. Hello and welcome to the Lobsterpot podcast. I'm Dave Barton. And how you doing, Jamie? You're the other part of Thermidor. How is the other part of Thermidor looking? We're right at the start of 2024, just to kind of time date this, which we said we'd never do. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in the midst of DIY, in the midst of painting. I've moved house successfully, and just trying to settle now.
Very nice. So it's a new year, new home, new perspective on the world kind of thing ish.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got a big new window to look out of. You know, admire. Well, I'm not really sure what's out there, but yeah,
the mean streets of Rugby.
That's it. Yeah,
that's it. I know what you mean. It's all good, but yeah. Moving away from that, our special guest. I have no real segue here. I've kind of just locked myself into a corner because usually we make a nice segue in what we're talking about into this. But let's just go. Hello. Today we have a special guest all the way from Germany. We have Olivia Evanicki, who is a criminal lawyer specializing in cannabis, working in Munich. Good to have you on the show, Olivia. How you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and to talk about my favorite topic, cannabis.
Well, indeed, that's our favorite topic too. So tell us a little bit more about the work, because you're a criminal lawyer. And so what does so you're not out there prosecuting people, or are you? Tell us more about what kind of being a lawyer in the cannabis space in Germany is kind of like on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I'm not prosecuting people. I'm on the other side, you could say.
Yay!
I'm a criminal defense lawyer, which means I defend people who get accused of criminal offenses, crimes in relation to narcotics especially. Yes, and I do that for several years right now. And on my day-to-day life, I read files, I go to court, I visit clients in prison. That's basically what I do.
So how did you kind of specialize in sort of cannabis or narcotics, and what kind of led you to that area of criminal defense law?
Well, it wasn't on purpose, actually. It was, I met through a friend, I met Litu. I think you are also familiar with Litu, right? Litu Law.
Yep.
And he worked in that field for several years, and he advised especially companies and startups to gain a foothold in the emerging cannabis market in Germany. And he had a lot of requests from defendants who needed a defense lawyer within that field, within the cannabis sector. And then we started a cooperation, and that's how how it began, basically. Absolutely. And now I'm here.
Absolutely. I mean, again, the sort of cases, are we talking about people who are, are we talking about something possession or intent to supply and things like that? And I guess, is it complicated by Germany's medical market? Just to kind of get a little bit of an insight into some of the cases, the sorts of cases.
I rarely have anything to do with the medical market. It's most of the time it's actually, of course, possession, but also I have a lot of drug dealers that deal with narcotics of any kind, and of course I have a lot of them who deal with cannabis, for example. Also, I have patients that, for example, cultivate cannabis for medical use, but they don't have a prescription for different reasons. So that's one part, but most of the time it is drug dealers.
Yeah. So, I mean, things are no doubt going to change dramatically soon in Germany. What do you think? I mean, where are we at in terms of the decriminalization, recreational legalization process? Because again, there was lots of announcements towards the end of 2023, and then
was it the Bundestag sort of put it off, and we're going to have a discussion in the new year. Where are we at right now in Germany? What's the sort of state of play in terms of legalization?
Yeah, so we have a bill. We have a draft. So at least that's that one done.
Mhm.
But originally, the legalization of cannabis was planned for January 1st this year. Then it was delayed to April 1st, which it still is. But the bill should have been passed by the German parliament in December, which didn't happen, unfortunately. And I think why everyone got a little bit nervous is that this recent postponement joins several previous postponements which have prevented the bill from actually progressing to the parliament. And like I said, initially the debate in the parliament was scheduled for October, and then the first postponement occurred due to the Middle East conflict, and other further postponements were made as legislators sought to improve the bill, I think. Now, the recent one is actually quite unclear, which also makes people in the community a little bit nervous, because some speculate that there is like internal criticism from within the Social Democratic Party, the government, of the content of the bill, and then others question the relevance of focusing on cannabis-related issues, topics in the midst of a budget crisis, which we have right now in Germany. So it's not quite clear why it gets delayed again, but we have several politicians that signal that this is still a normal procedure, part of a normal procedure, and that the law will enter into force April 1st. So I'm quite confident that it will be passed this year. Let's see if it's April 1st.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of it being like, it's not going to just kind of be, ta-da, it's all legal, here you can buy it. There's going to be a process behind it. So you're going to start with decriminalization. Is that pretty much, that's the first step, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I'd say there's a fight if it's legalization, partial legalization or decriminalization. But what it actually says in Pillar 1 is that there will be cultivation associations, which are more or less cannabis clubs, and they will be allowed to cultivate and distribute cannabis to adults for adult and recreational use.
But that's like a private members club that people will sign up to.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. It's a private members club, basically. And they're actually allowed to cultivate and distribute up to 300 kilos of recreational cannabis for up to 500 members per year, which is quite a lot. And furthermore, the bill will also, or through the bill, it will also be allowed to grow a maximum of 3 plants in parallel at home for personal use. And that's actually very important for a lot of my clients. It will be allowed to possess up to 25 grams in public and up to 50 grams at home or habitual residence. So it is also a partial legalization, I'd say, just because of the cultivation associations and that it's allowed to cultivate and grow cannabis. It's not only the possession that will be allowed.
Awesome.
Do you think that the kind of delays that are going on, obviously cannabis is a particularly contentious topic, and also it isn't.
Sorry.
And also it's it often isn't considered as important as other maybe mainstream political issues. You know, you mentioned the budget and conflicts in the Middle East. It kind of pales in comparison a little bit to those issues, so it often gets less attention. Do you think there is something maybe about the German political system that means there's often delays? You know, are there other bills that are kind of stop-start, or is cannabis almost unique in that way?
That's a good question. I actually don't know.
Okay.
I never followed a legislation process or I'd say a process of a bill and all of the procedure that comes with it as much as I did with this one. So I'm not sure if that's usual or not. But I still think that it says quite a lot that there are a lot of topics that seem to be more important to the government or to society than cannabis, because what we shouldn't forget is that there are still people who are being prosecuted and sentenced to fines, prison sentences, etc., on a day-to-day basis. So for them, it is very important. And not speaking of harm reduction, illicit market, etc., that is still there, and that should be fought. So to postpone it doesn't mean that the problem is getting better. For me, it's quite an important matter. So we will see. Maybe it will be important enough for the government this year.
I mean, do you feel like there's political support from all parties for the legalization, or of cannabis? I mean, it feels a very distant topic in the UK, Yeah. Or do you feel like there's enough support in Germany, like broadly, from a political perspective? No,
not at all. There's only a couple of parties, like the 3 of them, that actually support it, or 4, and there are also parties that are still against it very much. So we still have a lot of criticism, and we still have a lot of people that politicians as well as people within our society that fear the legalization of cannabis, and that also fear the change in drug policy in general, I think, within Germany and also Europe.
It's almost like people often talk about cannabis being a gateway drug. Do you think politically it's like a gateway piece of legislation? Like in 15 years' time, people are going to be doing coke and heroin, and the world's going to collapse. Is that kind of some of the sentiment, do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I think that first of all, a lot of people still think that cannabis is a gateway drug, also that has been scientifically proven wrong. And these are just some of the phrases and sentences you hear on a day-to-day basis, even from politicians who should know better. But I think people fear the legalization of drugs, or just increase of drug consumption with the cannabis legalization, which I don't believe in at all. It's proven wrong. For example, if we look at Portugal, who is not prosecuting the possession of drugs for several years now, they are not reporting that there is an increase of consumption after all. So I think that a lot of the fears is just it's just a part of the drug policy, and of the arguments they have that have been proven wrong already.
Interesting. At the risk of asking a really dumb question, which I'm known for, if there is, I mean, surely if cannabis is legal, then does that not sort of almost do you out of a job in terms of as a criminal defense lawyer? Or do you feel like there will just be different challenges that you'll have to help people navigate?
So first of all, I'm not only a criminal defense lawyer.
Okay.
I'm also a co-founder of the Lead to Law Academy, and we offer an online platform for companies and entrepreneurs that want to gain a foothold in the emerging cannabis market. So I have a plan B, but furthermore, I also
guiding people through sort of legalization and legislation, what you can do, the kind of regulatory hurdles, etc.
Exactly. If you want to found a cultivation association, like a cannabis club, you can buy access to that online platform and get all of the knowledge you need to actually do that. that's the one side. On the other hand, I think that I will be busy also after the legalization, because like I mentioned, Pillar 1 means it's a partial legalization. I think that there will be some issues with the illicit market that also wants to gain a foothold, but not in a compliant way. So there will be some issues with that. And also, I think possession of more than 30 grams or 60 grams, 30 grams in public, 60 grams in home, which means it's not a misdemeanor, but an actual crime. I think this will also be an issue. Just imagine the people who are actually growing their own cannabis at home. They will most likely have more than that amount at home at a certain point. So, or also if you're out in public, I don't think that a lot of people will actually weigh their cannabis and see if it's 25 or 30 grams. I mean, you should. I would.
Yeah.
I think that this will be an issue in the future.
It's almost like, it can still happen sort of legally, like, okay, it's legal now, but the kind of what that actually means, and the sort of people will still question it. People, law authority, it will still be like police still go, well, can we do that? Is that possible? I guess there's still a lot of, progress can be made, but on a kind of local level, it's still like, well, we still need to educate people about what they can and can't do legally, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that not only police, but all of the authorities, it's also a learning process for them. What can we do? Or there will be certain questions, because the draft bill we have right now is not perfect. So I think we will need some, decisions from judges, from courts, to act that we actually know how to apply the law correctly, and that will also be a work in progress.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, it feels like, Germany does this and gets it right, or doesn't. It'll still have a kind of domino effect on the rest of kind of the EU. Do you feel like that's gonna, as soon as, what point do you think, or do you think there will be a point where it's like, okay, then it will be Czech Republic, then it will be Netherlands, and it will be Belgium? Do you know what I mean? Do you feel like that's a distinct reality? It's like, if Germany gets this right, that sets a precedent for the whole of the EU.
Yes, absolutely. I think that Germany is leading the way in Europe with the planned partial legalization of cannabis. I assume that actually many European countries will wait and see whether Germany will be successful with its legalization efforts, because so far the EU, as we know, has tolerated the fact that cannabis use is not prosecuted in some member states. And if Germany were to actually legalize cannabis to the extent that is currently planned, this would be the most far-reaching step in the EU to date. So I think that the plans will also be closely examined by the EU Commission, and a couple of European countries will maybe wait at least until Pillar 1 is entered into force, and see whether Germany can legalize cannabis without reprimand by the EU.
So it's kind of, so Pillar 1 is the kind of decriminalization, partial legalization, as you outlined before. The second pillar, when is that due to sort of kick in, and what will that essentially entail, do you think?
Yeah, so with this Pillar 2, an initial draft law was actually due, I think, to be presented in autumn last year.
Okay, yeah, backlog.
This has also been postponed to 2024. And I think it's not clear when the draft for Pillar 2 will be published. I think the German government has some issues right now. And I hope that they will actually pass Pillar 1 and the bill, and we will see if Pillar 2 is an option after that.
Awesome. And what additional kind of legalization will that unlock?
So pillar 2 would be a full legalization, because under the second pillar, commercial supply chains are to be trialed in pilot projects in districts and cities in several federal states of Germany. So it's actually opening up cannabis to the profitable market, right? So companies are to be allowed to distribute and sell to adults in licensed, specialized shops for 5 years at least. And this model is then to be, I think, scientifically monitored, and the findings should be made available to the EU Commission. I think that's the plan. That's how they try to legalize cannabis within the EU regulations.
Do you feel like it's the right? Do you think Germany's doing it right? Do you think as much as it can be? I mean, compared to, say, it seems fairly rigorous, and it's well considered. And it's almost like this is going to be really definitive, kind of globally, in terms of like setting a blueprint. Do you think it goes far enough to do, everything from harm reduction and, the whole suite of things? Do you feel like it does everything it's supposed to do, or in theory at least? On paper, this looks like it's going to hit all the right notes. It's going to answer all the unanswered questions. I mean, never totally, but you feel like it's as close to perfect as it can be?
I think it's close, actually. Yes, I think it's close. I think they're trying. I think that there are some issues. I think you could do it better, of course, but it's also, I have a different point of view on cannabis as a substance, first of all. So I don't think it's as dangerous as maybe some of the politicians see it. And of course, they have to consider those voices and opinions that think that we actually have to control it and watch it because it has certain dangers, for example. So what they try to do is actually to prevent any harm for especially minors and young adults, and they want to make it possible, and still they don't want to give up their drug policy in general. So from my point of view, they should switch thinking regarding drugs totally, not only cannabis. So from my point of view, that would be a better drug policy. But the way they're doing it right now, it's close enough to actually do it in my favor, or in favor of people who are for legalization of drugs in general. And also they do it with regards to the people that fear the legalization, and also allegedly the harms.
No, absolutely. Well, we're certainly going to be watching closely, and I think it's going to be a very interesting year for Germany in particular. But again, it'll be interesting to see what that domino effect, once that kind of pillar 1 kicks in, whether that other countries start to look. I mean, again, neighboring countries, Netherlands, Switzerland, and making all the right sort of sounds, and there's progress, but it feels like this is like the get this right, and a lot of the other dominoes will fall. So we're fingers crossed, Germany, make it happen. And thanks to you for coming on the show, Olivia. And we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Thank you. We'll say goodbye for now, and we'll catch you soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Olivia.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.